Welcome back, everybody. This is the 8-Minute English Podcast series on the Learn English Podcast channel. As always, I'm your host, Nathan. For most of our listeners, learning English is an exciting journey. We often see videos and courses telling us what to do, but what about what not to do? Although English is seen as easy to learn, some people do not have much success with it. This is probably because they make common mistakes when learning the language. So today, let's listen to two English teachers talk about what English learners should avoid. We have also prepared a free PDF with vocabulary and helpful tips for this episode. Now, are you ready? Let's tune in.
Hey, Jonathan. How are things going with your new English class?
Everything's good. My students are eager to learn, but I'm noticing a few common challenges.
What kinds of challenges?
Some students seem afraid to speak English because they're worried about making mistakes. They understand grammar and vocabulary, but they hesitate to use them in conversation.
Oh, the same situation also happens in my class. I often tell them making mistakes is a natural part of learning any language. Making mistakes is a good thing, and it means they're trying and improving.
Exactly. I try to make them understand that the more they speak, the more they'll improve. No one expects them to be perfect from the beginning.
Another thing I see sometimes is students relying too much on their native language. They tend to translate everything in their heads before speaking English.
While translating can be helpful for some things, relying on it all the time can slow down progress.
Definitely. I always encourage them to think in English as much as possible.
A common way that I often encourage my students to do is labeling objects in their room with English words, or thinking in English about their daily routines.
Or maybe we can ask them simple questions in class to make them think and talk in English more. From the simplest questions about their hobbies to harder questions such as giving opinions. That can make them practice speaking and thinking in English more often.
Great suggestions. Speaking of practice, I've always noticed that some of my students don't usually apply what they learned into their daily practice.
It's like finding learning a new language interesting, but then losing interest in spending more time using and practicing it.
That's right. If they don't speak, listen, read, and write English often, it's easy to forget what they learned. It's like when you learn how to cook a new dish for the first time. After that, if you don't make the dish regularly, you start to forget how to do it.
Yeah, I think it's really important to create more fun and motivate our students to use English more often.
Applying what they learn into real-life situations is another effective way. It could be from starting conversations by saying hello to ordering food and so on.
I agree. Real-life practice to me is one of the best methods. When they get used to the language, they will be likely to make fewer mistakes and be more fluent.
That's a good point. Is there another concern you have on your mind? I could offer some helpful solutions.
Let me see. There are a few students in my class who only focus on learning grammar rules, but not the other skills. What do you think?
I understand what you mean. Grammar is important, but it's not the only thing that matters. If they only study grammar, they might struggle with listening, speaking, and writing skills. Perhaps we could incorporate more speaking activities in class, like role plays or group discussions.
That's also what I'm doing. The students seem to be really into the discussions because they can express their ideas as individuals.
Right. Then listening to podcasts could be a good idea to boost listening skills and critical thinking. And for writing practice, they could start keeping a simple journal or writing short stories.
Those are all excellent suggestions. Thank you for helping out.
Anytime, Kelly. Kelly and Jonathan's conversation has given us a lot of useful information on the don'ts in learning English, right? Now let's move on to the next part. Let's talk about some important words related to this episode's topic. The first word is eager. Eager means you really want something or want to do something. A lot of people are eager to learn English because it is seen as an easy language to learn. The next word is challenge it. Challenge is a difficult task for your ability. Although many people find learning English easy, they still have certain challenges studying this language. Next, we have progress. Progress can also be about getting better at something. If you're new to English, you might make mistakes, but as you practice, you'll keep getting better and better. That's progress. Now, let's talk about encourage. To encourage someone is like giving them a little cheer. It means you want them to feel good about doing something. Teachers often encourage their students to set real goals when studying English. Finally, let's learn the word solution. A solution is something that helps you fix a problem or difficult situation. Learners of the English language sometimes have to think of solutions for their challenges. Let's look at two important questions about our topic. The first question, how can avoiding the use of English in daily activities slow down progress? If you don't use English in your daily life, you'll miss chances to practice speaking, listening, and using what you've learned. This can slow down your progress. The second question, why is it a problem to study English alone without practicing with others? Studying English alone can be good, but practicing with others is important too. Talking to others lets you hear natural English and correct your mistakes. Without this practice, you might miss chances to improve your fluency and confidence. Let's share your thoughts on these questions. Please leave your comments below and let's talk about it. Before wrapping up today's episode, let's explore some fun facts about the English language. Did you know English is like the rock star of languages? It's very popular around the world. It started as the main language of the internet and is still the most used language for developers. That's why about 70% of all information online is in English. English is always changing. In fact, a new word is added to the dictionary about every 2 hours. This means around 4,000 new words are created each year. One interesting thing about English is that most of its speakers aren't native speakers. Many people speak English as their second or even third language. But don't worry, there are still many native speakers too, around 250 million of them worldwide. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Remember, practice makes perfect. Goodbye, and see you again.